Welcome, everyone, to You Are the Cosmos global event, in which we call forth our deep wisdom of our unique abilities of the sacred self. In this time of great change, there is a strong movement toward reclaiming our power as masters of co creation with our Mother Earth to transform our world. I am your host for this event, Amanda Kolbaba, and today I'm excited to present Marissa Indigo Miracles. Marissa leads through the heart with excitement, humor, and passion for our human potential and alternative healing. As a blue ray indigo sapphire light technician, her insatiable thirst to explore all subjects related to health, our inherent human potential, the essence of consciousness, space weather, Earth-based indigenous traditions and sciences, drives her daily work for humanity. At the age of 8, she experienced her first major awakening in the hospital after a near-death experience from long-term steroid medication, which was prescribed for an autoimmune disorder. A metaphysician since early childhood, initiations with angels and star family to resurrect her soul purpose mission, Marissa has accumulated a library of knowledge combined from life experience and study. Her background ranges from energy medicine, quantum mechanics, Ayurveda, grid work, oracle transmissions, and galactic elemental shamanism, activated from her travels around the globe to receive codes from medicine elders and sacred sites. Marissa enthusiastically shares a wide range of wisdom and custom solutions or light systems to support humanity home during the shift into heart-centered wholeness, joy, and connection. She serves as a bridge to New Earth soul level embodied living with the Sophia Seraphim, Rose Council, and Emerald Ray of Gaia Sophia. Her practice combines a variety of mystic traditions from all over the world, both geographically on the grid and throughout the Akash, enabling her clients to experience an expansion of consciousness, transformation, and actively engage in heart-centered living and healing on all levels. Her soul stream sessions are soul level readings in the oracle state, which provide a deluge of information with practical custom systems to support mastery on the journey. Her topic of discussion today is Trinity Heart Gateway of Divine Soul, Gaia, and Solaris. Welcome, Marissa. Thank you for being with us today.
Hey, thank you so much, Amanda, for having me. And hello, everyone out there, sending lots of love.
My first question for you is, what is Solaria and how do we connect, activate our Solarian codons?
Well, wonderful. So, Solaria is our own interface here in the human experience, in our divine human DNA, where we begin to become what Dr. Jose Arguelles would call biosolar telepaths. And so the term Solaria started coming through a few years ago. And we were like, oh my gosh, what is this? And it's many things, but it's essentially a codon that we all have inherently in our DNA, just waiting to activate, right, when it is aligned. And it's a solar cell on one level. It's also looking at the sun and the gateways of the sun and all of the various levels that we have of the solar logos throughout time. Many cultures talked about this, but looking at this as a gateway that's also a mirroring of our own heart and our soul, the light of our soul. So it has to do with Lightbody as well. And just a lot of solar, so solar from the soul, embodiment, wisdom, and our connection kind of becoming a biosolar telepath, meaning that we are receiving the information, the divine wisdom activations from the sun in the light streams.
And does this have a connection to do with the solar flares and all that activity that's going on? And we've had so much this year already. Can you dive a little bit into that for us?
Yes, boy, are we in it now. We are in this space weather. I mean, for those of us that this is new, we've really gone into a very deep application now of starting to experience the physical, I call them the physical sensations, right? Instead of symptoms, I like to use sensations instead to assist us in elevating the experience and our reaction and response to it. But yes, the Solaria information came through for me. It started in 2020 and 2021 with the Solar Rishi. The Council of Solar Rishi came through to share divine wisdom, and they were here to assist all of us in knowing that despite the often discomfort, intense psychological and emotional clearing we could be experiencing, memories coming up, a lot of Akashic clearing that happens with these influxes of solar light and solar activity, really purging the subconscious, but also the physical discomfort. They really wanted us to know, hey, yes, this is going to feel like a lot, but you were made for this. You've done it before on different planets and different timelines, and we're here to assist you. And so that was a great comfort because I was freaking out. It was a lot. I was in so much pain, and actually, in a space of asking, praying for support from our higher realm friends. And that's when they came through. And then the next year came through Solaria, and they wanted to show, okay, here's a deeper application now, as we are surrendering our fears, any of the different programming that we all have, like imposter syndrome, all these silly things where we over identify too much to our detriment with just this one human life, right? And we want to take in the whole picture. And so then in the solstice energy, summer solstice energy, I was on Mount Shasta and I was taking pictures of the sun like I do. And there was a beautiful solar cross of rainbow light. And it was this beautiful, like cosmic Christ, Sophia energy, very divine feminine Sophia. And that's where the term Solaria, and we are all Solarians, solar beings. So it's an essence of our soul, another aspect of our being, that we all are it. And it took a while for that information to continue to unpack and for me to start to understand that at first it starts out as almost like what the older cultures would have called a sun worshiping component, the ancient the ancient Hindu cultures and the Aztec and Maya and Egyptian, they all and so many indigenous cultures and Celtic. I mean, all of our roots, truly on a global level, we all were sun worshipers and based our very simple lives back then around the solar compass, of how we lived. And so it started as kind of more of a philosophical, spiritual connection with the planet as well and the cosmos. And then as the intensification continued and still continues, then they were showing it's actually a solar cell. And they were showing me how, we have these solar charging particle abilities in the DNA, different things that start to kick on with each of us have this, and it's a natural part. We have our own individual process and alignment of how much light is appropriate for us, right? But for each of us, it's an opportunity for this to kick on and to start to work with the solar light and the different plasmas and the protons and all the things that are happening in the atmosphere in a really fun and conscious and engaging and empowering way.
Wow, that's fascinating. So I understand how the energy is helping us to clear and heal, but then what is next? Like what are we being downloaded with a new way of evolving, of experiencing here? Are we bringing something the energies down onto the planet? What is that next part?
Oh, that's wonderful. That's a great question. And I would say yes to all of the above. So we start to see ourselves. So, how we were guided to call the topic for today being the Trinity Heart Gateway, when we're working actively on bringing our focus intent to being more present, being with soul, being with the love, the individuation of source consciousness that we each are, the worlds start to open, the realms, the higher realms start to open. And so it starts with Gaia, being our immediate surroundings, the crystalline realms, these magical encounters start to occur We're taking pictures of the sun rays, the sun, all these different things, light on water. We're starting to, ooh, I'm feeling so, enlivened by Gaia herself and her energy. And it's like we are a walking, what's the word? I want to say telephone pole, but an antenna, yes, where through our hearts, through our loving hearts, we're connecting with the heart of Gaia herself, the heart of Solaris and beyond. And then there's this Trinity heart thing kind of going on. If you see like a vertical infinity loop, so, yoking the energy of the cosmos and the sun, kind of coming through our heart and then rounding down through the heart of Gaia. So it's this constant, beautiful, vertical, golden infinity loop with us in the center. So we are receiving as conduits. So we are receiving. So it's all happening all at once where we are receiving. We are being, the one of the words they gave was a transducer. So we are receiving and we are transmitting, all at once. And we may go through different phases where then you're integrating. So you're not really doing a whole lot of transmitting because you need to be doing the restructuring. But ultimately, the best way to summarize this whole experience and how the new is coming about for us is that this is all working now with the light body. And we start to see how our entire experience, our entire reality, this is one of the newest pieces that's been coming and finally sticking in my consciousness. Our entire reality is created by our light body. And so that's an integration of soul with the sun, with the planet, it becomes very interesting. You start to see the weather work with you. You create your own ecosystem and environment everywhere that you go. It starts to get really fun and really interesting. And we will have, quite a few fluctuations of being really energized, the tired and wired or not sleeping. Like for instance, today I was up at 1:30. I was like, come on, like I'm so excited for this discussion. I want to have sleep tonight, and it just was like, just get as comfortable as you can and just enjoy the visuals, enjoy the ride, pet the cats, just self-soothing, lots of good water, coconut water, and just enjoy the ride, and surrender. But a huge part of this is a whole new working with our energy and our energy levels and those fluctuations. And so it becomes more of a quantum experience. So there is a great deal of deprogramming happening for all of us. And, trusting the process. I mean, our root chakra is I call it the root chakra rattles right now. Our lives are changing. We've been moving, we don't have a permanent stable place to be at this time as we're moving around until we get that. There's a lot of interesting things that start to happen. So yeah, hopefully that answered it a little bit. And if there's anywhere you want to go more specific, let me know. Hopefully it's clear for everybody.
Sure. No, this is very fascinating. And I like what you mentioned about the root chakra because that's sort of been coming up for me too. And it feels to be intuitively almost like, we are trying to come out of that place of always on like in survival mode. That is, we're trying to move out of that energy space and evolve out of that. And also when you said like people are, it's moving and rattling, I've been seeing so many, like I'm in Canada and there's so many people leaving Canada. And it's almost like so physically people are relocating. They're needing to be somewhere else in the world. And so we're seeing that like not only in the internal, but the external as well. And finding that new place. A lot of people are going to Costa Rica. Lots of sun there. Um,
Yes,
yeah.
that's so
How is
powerful.
our,
Mhm.
yes, definitely. How is our physical ascension process influenced by the solar flares and the space weather? And I know I was mentioning it a little bit before earlier on, but especially the space weather is interesting too and how it's affecting us. And just something that's coming into my mind is has that been has that been manipulated in the past? Has there been manipulation there? Because we sort of, are aware a little bit of manipulation of weather on this planet. So I don't know if that makes any sense, but I'll leave it to you to explain that.
Sure. Well, essentially there was an agreement we all made so long ago before coming. that we would be coming here to light up the end of this era, which was the dark ages, you know? And so what's interesting is when I started exploring this solar information with Solaria, universe said you need to look at the ancient cultures so that you can start to assist people in bridging what we call our ancient future now, because technically it's all here in the Akash now, the ancient wisdom that we are here to have be a part of this beautiful renaissance at this time. And there are several timelines playing out as well of different factions of consciousness that have their own roles to play, you know, their own whatever is interesting to them and stimulating to them, right? Whether it's distorted or pure intent, you know, we can definitely see. And so they guided me to look at the ancient cultures back again, I will say the sun worshiping cultures that, you know, times were a little bit more simple, a little bit. Technology was different, you know, a little bit more organic. And we've gone through, let's see, the Mayans, right, in 2012. So just to share what we're experiencing right now is what we thought was going to happen in 2012. So here we are 12 years later. It took that long for because we moved into the photon belt, which is all about the light, the photonic light. So that started happening 12 years ago. So now we're seeing, oh, this is what we were expecting. You know, we were hearing about Lightbody, these different things, but they were so out there. We did not really understand how on earth to break that down and digest, like, what does that mean? Like, you know, so we are in a new period that's been a 26,500 year period, according to, you know, the cosmic Maya. So we're coming out of the dark ages. So yeah, if that answers that a little bit, you know, and what the photonic light does is it destroys distortion. It destroys anything less than pure divine cosmic love and, you know, sacred respect, like these codes of new earth. The Lemurian cultures left a lot of codes for us to remember for these times so that we would know what is truth within ourselves, right? We see a lot of dogma right now. We see a lot of extreme in the ideologies as the polarities become very extreme to assist humanity in that root chakra rattling out of the dogma and into unity consciousness, you know. And so everyone has their own timeline and way for that, you know. Some of us come in with more DNA activated to assist so that we can connect and hold it down while so much is going on, right? Because it's going to continue to accelerate. So when we talk about the solar activity, the space weather, right now, this acceleration that we've been seeing, which has been phenomenal already just this year, the last couple of months, this is now the peaking. And so the Solar Rishi had said to me a few years ago, start putting this content out because 2024 to 2026 is going to be extremely accelerated, you know, and people are going to not know like what the heck, like on a mainstream level, like I can't get out of bed, you know, and they're going to identify that it's, oh, it's this diagnosis and this thing, and, you know, because of the various access points that various systems have of knowledge, right? And so we are here to assist people to expand their definition, their concepts, the conditions. We're really deconditioning a lot of the human condition, which was distorted, which was shut down DNA, right? A lot of that kind of stuff. But we signed up for the greatest, you know, unveiling of all time. I don't think we would want anything less. So while it is at times a lot, it's very interesting to observe that the amount of distortion that we see coming up, it is an acceleration. So it does feel intense, but it's been in the works for a very long time. And everyone here that's listening to this is a part of this. You know, whether you're actively doing something like this conversation or not, it doesn't matter. It's the frequency of your being. It's the frequency of your soul. It's your DNA. And you can start to just talk to your DNA and say, hey, DNA, I want to know you. Like, show me some stuff. Like, let's, you know, I want to engage with you. I want to engage in my environment, you know, start to invite the lucidity that's actually very much how it is to come forth for you.
That's beautiful. Thank you for that. No, that's really nice. It's reconnecting and with ourselves and having a new learning basically a new relationship to have with ourselves and with our outside world, nature, and that, and just yeah, it's just fascinating. So thank you for that. Um, I want to go back a little bit and just ask you, for those people who are feeling what you mentioned before about sensations, what are sensations people could be experiencing that is coming really from these activations?
Totally. So there is a lot going on within our DNA at an atomic level, subatomic level. So imagine that we're getting plugged into a higher voltage in the wall socket. So you could feel tired but wired, like you're just like zzz, vibrating. And right now, especially another thing I love to share is the astrology and the astronomy of what's going on, because we are connected to everything. You know, the planets are within us, the star systems, the constellations, they are within us. So in addition to Solaris, there's this whole song and dance going on with the planetary cycles as well. And that's all part of the evolution of consciousness as well. It is all one song, universe, one song, right? So there's a lot with Gemini now. We're in the season of Gemini. There's a lot of Mercury, and that's the nervous system. So there's just a lot. You could feel jittery. You could feel like, God, my mind is just racing all the time. And so it's the invitation to use more of our mastery tools to, okay, see, like, okay, yes, you know, the mind is consciously reaching to want to know this or that, but how productive is it for me to loop or to fixate on something? Let's just put it out there that I'll know that piece when I need to know. I have faith and trust in my universe. My universe has my back. So that kind of takes us back to the root chakra again. You know, rebuilding. We're rewiring an entirely new root, connected with the heart. You know, but so you could have just noticing your mind is just driving you crazy, and that's also part of this, the magnetics, you know, everything, the veil, everything dissolving. And so it's to assist us to get out of just being in the linear, because that was always looking at our reality through a tiny little crack, you know, instead of more of a holistic or a holographic perspective. So mental, definitely a lot of mental activity. And so we want to come back to the body. So many of us, self included, you know, lived essentially disincarnate, you know, like in the head and above the head, not even in the body, right? So embodiment practices, tai chi gong, breathing, go out with your bare feet on the earth, you know, lay on the earth, ground in. If you feel like there's too much energy, put your back against a tree. Or if the weather is nice, actually lay with your back on the earth and ask the excess to leave where it feels like it's too much, you know, and it may be causing discomfort or some kind of adverse something. And ask the light to work through you for your optimal benefit, that it may be comfortable. You can ask, you know, you can say, hey guys, you can imagine a giant radio dial or a volume. Can we turn it down just a little? And we don't want to control the experience, but we do have the ability to ask and to make requests, right? But so more specifically, okay, so here's today. I woke up at 1:30 in the morning. I was thirsty, heart is racing. I had a lot of aching in my teeth. A lot of people will get headaches with the X-class flares. You know, you could have also where all of a sudden you're sneezing just a lot, like uncontrollable sneezing and stuffiness in here. For me, that's the diamond energies. They're like drilling through, you know, different parts of the brain and the sinuses and the eyes, the optic nerve, and assisting with things there. You could have immense fatigue where you feel like you weigh like lead, like you're like, I can't even get out of bed. And when you feel that intense heaviness, that intense exhaustion, where all you want to do is be in your bed, and maybe you have to have your eyes closed. Sometimes the light is too much, you know, sensory is too much. You might want to listen to some lovely frequencies, solfeggio frequencies, and lovely, you know, kind of angelic tones. They have great stuff on YouTube, like Meditative Mind has a lot of amazing different tuning, you know, tuning your frequencies. So, you know, extreme exhaustion like that. And for me, when I have that, I know it's an integration phase. So I went through an expansion. I had some amazing revelation. The light was pouring into me and I'm elevated. I'm bliss. I'm high. I'm like, oh my God, you know, I'm getting insight into a whole new aspect of something. And then what inevitably comes after that is, some people call it their kerplunk or the crash, or just the contraction, where now that light has to be run through. It has to go through our entire body and find where are there discordant frequencies with that new light knowledge, with that new information, that new truth of who we really are, right? And essentially, it's just getting out of our own way. we came here to clear a lot. So it's also our own, it's ancestral, it's going throughout time, it's also collective. We are clearing on behalf of collectives too. So some people sometimes bone pain, aches and pains, aches in your spine, muscle aches. We talked about headaches. I'll get ocular migraines. Like our first time we were scheduled, I was so bummed because as soon as I got to the nice thing is your light body helps you. So it's not going to be dangerous. So for instance, I just dropped my daughter off at school and I was noticing I had a headache as I was driving. Well, as soon as I walked to my front door and I put my hand on the knob, I start to see this, I call it an ocular migraine. And it looks like there's like diamond water in my periphery. And then eventually it takes over like a whole eyeball and I can't really see. And so I just have to relax, close my eyes until it passes. So you can have an abundance of interesting experiences like that. I went through a couple week period where when I was talking, it sounded like there were electronic, like it was the weirdest sounds coming out of my teeth as I was talking, like these crystalline high pitched sounds. Also, so, the human world will call it tinnitus, but it's actually frequencies. You're starting to be able to have these really sensitive gifts, these organs that we have that have been dormant, so that we can actually hear cosmic frequencies and things like that. So, it's good to have an open mind. And a wonderful resource, two great resources is Louise Hay, I think it's Heal Your Body, Heal Your Life. She starts to show you the metaphysical mapping, and I call it star mapping the body to see the corresponding, different things, symbols showing us like, oh, you stubbed your right toe. Your universe is trying to get your consciousness to integrate, to unify heart and mind, to focus on the next steps forward for the future, taking action. So if we're not paying attention, we'll hurt ourselves. That's part of the body's technology. So it's very important to really do our best to be present and slow down, be really careful when we're operating heavy machinery, right? Like driving cars, like it's serious. You want to make sure you're very grounded. And there are some days where I'm like, no, I can't drive today because you'll have the weirdest thing I had lately was it felt like my whole left side of my face and head, it felt like it was like bashed in, like there's all this pressure here. And I felt like I was walking sideways. I felt like if I were walking sideways on the wall, and that this whole part of me was going through a weird gravity thing, and it was just half of my body. It was very odd. So Louise Hay, that book is really great. And I also recommend Lisa Transcendence Brown because she's gone through all of this and she has written on this for over 10 years, like 15 years. You can go and look and she will talk about it at length. And I'm part of her community, so I feel very blessed that a lot of my understanding of what the heck is happening is from her wisdom, with these different bizarro atomic processes. When your light body kicks on and you're feeling in your bliss and your happiness, I call it, it feels like there's an effervescent bubbliness in your cells, and that's just these particles of your being. The spin rate is starting to shift because we're going from very dense to very not dense, a lot of light, a lot of sparkly energy, and you feel weightless. And so you feel like you're floating, but you're floating in your body. And the best way I can describe that is when you're in an airplane and you're going to do takeoff and you feel that weightlessness. So imagine feeling that weightlessness in your body, but you're still walking around, you're still, operating and doing things. And so you want to just be really mindful because now it becomes the ship, the body becomes the Merkaba, the light ship. Very interesting.
That's fascinating. Thank you for all of that. Um, I find I get a lot of the symptoms and I've been having them for years. But one that I have is I'll sometimes wake up very early in the morning and my whole body feels like it's vibrating, like my cells are vibrating. That's a and I've heard that from other people. Like I'll have clients come in and be like, I think something's wrong with me. Like I vibrate. And I'm like, that's not a bad thing.
Yeah, it's your light body kicking on. It starts to get really fun. And I
Mhm.
think it's important to mention too the psychological effects because not a lot of people talk about this. And I'm very passionate about talking about like the emotional stuff because emotions, energy and motion, like as someone myself who's like extremely emotionally repressed for most of my life, I think a lot of us were that way, like depending on how we grew up and different things like, you know, you could have really intense memories come up of like maybe the most intense, and you're like, wow, this is so crazy. It's like I time traveled and saw this scene, this movie scene of, this traumatizing event that happened, or this person was bullying me, or something I did where, oh, I'm so ashamed that I did that, and you feel these really intense emotions, and you're like, whoa, like that just came out of nowhere. And that's part of the light kind of data mining, and pulling out these shards where we held that inside of ourselves. We held shame, guilt, rage, the victim stuff, the betrayal. Like these are all the most dense and darker emotional experiences that we all have had and vast history with too, throughout the different timelines, different galactic experiences, all of it. And so it's important to not judge ourselves when we have that, and just feel it, honor it, say, whoa, thank you for showing me, and kind of get out of the way and let it come up and out, and say thank you. And then you will feel empty again, and you will feel like a pure vessel, clean, clear, pure, soft, peace, simple again. It's just allow it. Don't stuff it, Yeah, these things can be really helpful. You may have memories or psychological distress, and it's just helpful to know that there's nothing wrong with you. This is what the frequencies are doing. They're assisting us to clear. It's a lot of work.
It is definitely. And thank you for talking about the psychological and the emotional, because I think that is so important right now. It's such a huge piece. So many people are going through that, and especially to our children, the teenagers as well. And I agree. I do the same thing. I'll be, just going about my daily life, and then all of a sudden, some emotion from childhood or some very heavy like shame, self-worth comes up, and yes, I acknowledge it. I allow myself to feel it, and then it goes, it
Mhm.
just drifts off. And I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, okay, that wasn't too bad.
Yes. And I think that's important for people to know, is that psychologically it could feel huge and awful. And you're like, nope, I can't do it. It's gonna take me out. That's part of the game. That's part of, these different aspects of the psyche, the subconscious kind of, assisting us to make it even trickier to come into unity consciousness. And so if you can start to see what's happening, and when you're in it, you can't see what's happening, but if you can reflect and you've got these tool bags, like, oh yeah, these things could happen, it starts to assist so that we don't have to drag it out. We're really good at carrying and hanging on to that baggage and dragging it around. And that's actually a form of self-abuse. We don't need to do that, you know? Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
very, very true. Well said. Thank you. I wanted to ask you a bit about the sun. Um,
Yes.
what is what is your experience, or what have you received in the intelligence of the sun itself? Because intuitively I've picked up, just like the moon, the sun isn't exactly what we all perceive it to be. There's a greater intelligence. There's more to it. Are you able to talk about that?
Yes, absolutely. So with the Solarian information, we received that the sun is consciousness, right? We have many cultures on Earth that looked at the sun as masculine. We also have many cultures on Earth that looked at the sun as feminine. And then we have the sun worshiping cultures that understood it to be a cosmic Christed, so it's a Trinity being. So it's a fatherly and a motherly and a Christed or crystalline child all in one. It's a Trinity source consciousness, solar logos. It's also the gateway to a bunch of other suns behind it. The Mayans talked about the kin ahau, which were similar to what the solar rishi looked like. So they're beings that live in the sun. They're like energy beings that live in the sun. And they are part of the grander, cosmic clock for us, that when the time is right, they're going to start rattling around in there with the heat, the energy. If we look at like physics, when things get hot, the particles expand and they dance, they move around, they shake around. And then these plasma arms are just flying off the sun, coming our way. So there's a lot about the sun. There is just so much about it. and the golden plasma, working with the golden honey amber plasma. That's how I like to call it. So seeing those colors come down and coat your entire body, and going out in the sun and opening your mouth and imagining that you're like drinking, or eating the chi, the prana, the energy of the sun, drinking it into the third eye, drinking it into all of the different parts of the body is really important. Yeah. So sunbathing, definitely taking it in. Yeah, so that's a little bit about it. And the Cosmic Maya talked about the seven solar angels. So there are different guardians, different layers here that are here to assist us. They're like midwives, male and female energies, midwives to assist humanity coming into Homo Luminous, the light being, the shining ones, the children of the sun. Yes. So it goes from as basic as, how a plant will convert sunlight into ATP, which is sugar, crystalline, right? To go to its full fruition. And similar for us, we are like plants in that way. It's quite fascinating.
Beautiful. Thank you. That was lovely. I love drinking in, the rays of the sun and that. So the fear around the sun, would you say that's a little bit exaggerated?
Yeah. Yeah.
Keeping us out of the sun.
Yeah, yeah, or even the things we see now that they'll block, like they try to block it, or they try to say things like the sun's going to warm up the earth, and it's like, well, if you study how the ionosphere works, actually it doesn't. It reflects it back. Like the earth, Gaia, the consciousness of these divine entities is so vast and so intricately advanced, like beyond like the ego of a lot of the different uh we'll say science, but I don't really like to call them that. I think it's a controlled narrative for sure. But yeah, there's a lot of intelligence that's worked in. It's a perfectly divine system. We just need to let it do what it's doing, and get out of the way. If that helps at all. But yes, it's very important to be out in the sun, and we will acknowledge that there are different phenotypes. There are different galactic beings here that maybe they need less sun, right? And some need more. So it's kind of your own discernment, but because we're all hybrids, there's an amazing guy, the galactic historian, Andrew Bartzis, and he talks about how there's at least 128 different races here in human form. So we have all kinds of different beings here, and some need more, some need less, some it may not be good for. So it's up to, you and your own individual aspects and things like that. Yeah.
Thank you. That was well said. It's true. Some of us do. Like I know when I need to be out in the sun. I know, especially after the long winter, it's like, oh, I need the sun.
Yes, ma'am. I know I'm in the Pacific Northwest now. We're going on almost our fourth year in Washington, and I'm originally from the big island of Hawaii, and then it's almost 25 years in California. And so I've always been a solar Mediterranean kind of person, always in the sun a lot. But conversely, you will notice that with certain atomic activations that are happening, you feel very hot inside, almost feels like hot flashes. You could feel like you're going nuclear, like you're going to blow, like you could have the temper flare ups, this fiery energy. You'll notice that you're like, oh, no, I don't want the sun. I want to actually be in the cool, and inside. So you just observe, just check in every day. And for everyone out there, like, try not to overthink it and just ask your light body to guide you, because it's your best friend, your soul friend, that's been waiting for you to be able to hear the frequency of its love for you and guidance and communication for you. And here we are. This is it. This is the time.
Beautiful. Thank you for that. What is the Codex of the Emerald Ray Covenant for light workers and wayshowers for all of humanity?
Oh, this is so beautiful. I was so excited to share this. So this is an amazing codex that I was gifted when I came up here to Washington State. And I was in old growth forest in the Quinault rainforest. And I've had a very close relationship with Gaia my whole life, and the elementals, growing up in Hawaii. Most of my communication was with the devas and the different, tree beings and flowers and animals and the wind. And so I've been close with Gaia for a long time. And I was on a hike and looking at beautiful waterfalls. And she was assisting me with some root chakra, clearing and opening up and feeling more comfortable. And I had gone through quite a bit with the whole COVID era for myself and my daughter with the education system, and being someone coming from the different things I went through in the medical system, and then choosing holistic options and really being a proponent of that. It was a challenging time for anyone that had different ideas about what things were. So I went through a lot of trauma leaving California, and I wanted to release that. And so Gaia was assisting me, and I said, is it safe here? Like, can we trust it here? And I was bawling. It was such a moment. And Gaia said, yes. She says, I want you to hear this, hear me. And so here I am in this emerald rainforest. And she showed me how all of us, myself, all of us here came here for this time. And that no matter what it looks like, no matter what is broadcast, with these different, we'll say $1 trillion funded media propaganda, all of that human stuff, none of it matters. We will be supported. We are supported. All we have to do is keep focusing on our heart, keep coming back, because we're learning how to, like, not just live in the head and completely disassociated, right? So coming back into the heart, coming back into the body elemental, trusting the wisdom of our soul, nourishing our light body, and really opening our heart and coming in this innocent kind of, the curious child, right? A very pure space of being. That's really the frequency that we're returning to, is the innocence. And we never were not that. We just have to release the lies we believed, for a very long time. So this covenant is a special agreement that each of us must make uniquely when we feel called. Gaia will call you out somewhere beautiful in nature. And it's essentially a contract, a soul contract. You say, I'm ready. I'm ready to do what I came here to do. And it's almost like she holds your hand, she holds you by the heart. And there's this beautiful kind of, connecting a different weave of the root chakra with the heart chakra. And you know that you will always be, you can trust yourself. You can trust that you're going to make it no matter what it looks like. You're down to your last dollar, so to say, or, all these different things that happen as we go into the quantum flow. It's really about the mindset. There's always abundance. The truth of reality and the universe is abundance. It is the lack that is the lie, right? It's a lot of distortion that's been created on purpose, which we signed up for. We would not be satisfied if we had everything handed to us easily without having to remember and expand and work for it and remember our mastery tools. So essentially, it is this beautiful trust, a living trust that is coming from your heart and soul working with Gaia, that you already have a soul contract of why you came, to support one another, our families, our communities, whatever it is that we're passionate about here at this time. Maybe it's the soil itself, it could be all kinds of things, new technology, all kinds of beautiful things, children, whatever you're really passionate about. And it could be a bunch of things, but that she is here to support us. And so it's time to start trusting that, right? Versus the fear, because that's a powerful choice, right? So yeah, it's for all of humanity, but especially for those of us that are here to serve as kind of ambassadors, earth angels, to assist. There's a frequency there that is here for us to tap into in this new age, and we create it and we share, yeah, if that makes sense.
It does. That's a very empowering message, that we are all here and we can all do this and we're all being called. So yeah, thank you so much. Now I know you were thinking of doing an activation for us. Okay. Do you want to we can go ahead and do that then? Okay.
Yeah, I think that would be absolutely lovely. And so I want to share, this is an activation for us to start to work with our internal landscape so that we can go inside and see the entire universe within us. So the invitation here is to close your eyes. I'll just start to take some nice breaths. So we talked about a lot of things. So, definitely welcoming some nice inhales. deep inhales and audible exhales, just like, oh, okay, let's just drop all that. There's a lot of information. It will come through. We can drop it, and start to drop the mind, starting to drop our consciousness down through into the chest, into the thymus, into the thymus is the higher heart area at the collarbones. You can tap if you want. That assists you to come into the body. But bringing your attention now into the center of your heart with your eyes closed and just breathing. And we're going to do some balancing breaths here. So balancing the elementals, the forces of creation within us, to come into a more unified state. So we inhale through the nose and exhale through softly parted lips with open mouth. So inhaling through the nose stimulates the fire, stimulates the mind, and divine mind, that sacred masculine, Heavenly Father energies. And when we exhale through open mouth, it's the waterfall, it's the yin, the watery energies, divine mother, starting to drop our consciousness deeper into the body. So we'll continue with this into the nose, feeling the expansion. And as we exhale, feeling ourselves drop even more deeply into our root, our seat, our belly, our womb. Continuing with that breath of into the nose, out through the mouth. And let us call back all of our energy throughout all time and space, wherever it's been scattered with all the things we've experienced in life, or even just today, the hustle and bustle, calling back all of our energy, calling it back now as we breathe in through the nose and out through the mouth, starting to feel ourselves more whole. And I invite you now to, with your eyes closed, start to look down. Imagine that you're looking down through your being, and the inside of you is this vast expanse, almost like you're standing on the edge of infinity, looking into deep space. And you can see the stars and the constellations and various beautiful nebulized, gorgeous clouds of vibrant colored energies, maybe shooting stars. Starting to acquaint yourself with the infinite realms within, and to see how large and vast you truly are on a quantum level, the wholeness, the universe within. And just continuing to breathe here, connecting to the heart. And now we're going to ask Mother Earth, Gaia Sophia, to receive our roots. So bringing your attention down through the body, into the root, and just breathing, continuing to breathe in through the nose, out through the mouth. Try to soften your belly. And starting to send our roots down through the layers of our seat and our room, down into the layers of sacred earth, going down deeply through the beautiful, dark, rich soil, seeing the other root systems of our tree networks there, coming into the inner earth, the crystalline waters flowing, seeing the waterfalls of inner earth, the oceans, caverns, seeing the crystal caverns as well, continuing to wrap our roots down through all of these beautiful elements here, going down until we finally come to the heart core of Mother Gaia. And it's a beautiful, massive heart-shaped diamond, miles tall, miles wide. And what we're going to do is we're going to wrap our roots 3 times and pull snugly. So we're going to wrap 1, 2, 3, and pull snugly, and really feel that tug, feeling your connection to the core, the heart core of Mother Gaia, feeling this as a tether to assist you in stabilizing. And you always have this tool to work with. Just connect, just plug in your root, and it will assist you no matter what you're going through, wherever you are, whatever is happening around you. Remember to plug in. And seeing the beautiful crystalline grids here flowing, anchoring, locking our feet into these beautiful higher earth grids and timelines. And now coming back with our awareness in the body and seeing the inner body realms, this hollow vessel containing all of creation and the cosmos. And now starting to hear these kind of crystalline tones, maybe angelic kind of tones, but seeing the aurora borealis now inside of your body, seeing these dancing, flowing ribbons of light, flowing, bouncing off the walls inside of you, magentas, fuchsia, vibrant neon greens, soft lavender, turquoise, ruby red, violet, white swirls and ribbons of dancing light, dancing, bouncing, ricocheting throughout your being inside of you. And seeing where you perhaps feel the sensations in the body. Maybe you feel some tickles in the heart, or some joy in the belly, or expansion in the mind, perhaps happy tears, homecoming sensations of the light being that you are, that has now been consistently reflected around us with all this incredible solar activation and the different geomagnetic storms. They are here to remind us of who we really are. Light in form, love in form, dancing, spiraling, glowing, humming. And see which colors feel really impactful to you today. And you can play with all of the colors that you see, seeing these threads of light through you, tapestries of color and light. And perhaps you hear tones. Perhaps you hear whistling. See if you hear. Just enjoying this space and how good it feels and how easy it can be to connect with the light within yourself. And this is a wonderful activation you can do if you have some of those days where you're having a lot of the physical upgrade sensations and all you can do is lay there with your eyes closed. We invite you to traverse the inner realms and see where you go. See what's going on inside of yourself. Travel, astral travel inside of yourself throughout space-time. And smile on your heart there. Just feeling how nice that feels. Feels like home, perhaps. I know a lot of us wonder what home is, where it is, and it's in the heart to connect with the infinite expanse all around us and through us. And when you're ready, you can softly open your eyes and just take that with you today. That was a really nice activation that happened. It was, I couldn't believe it. It was a dream come true a few weeks ago to have the aurora right above, and I got a ton of photos. And I was just amazed because a dream of mine when I started studying the space weather and all this stuff a few years back was to be, an aurora photographer. And okay, well, and of course the mind goes all the linear ways. I'm going to have to get the camera. I'm going to have to travel to Canada and Alaska, Iceland, No, it was right above the garage. And I was like, oh my God. And my cell phone captured it. And I was so full of joy. And when I went to bed, the aurora was dancing inside of me. I saw it as I was going to sleep. And last night, guidance was like, share this with everybody so they can connect with it. And you can look at pictures as an activation, videos, stock footage, and see all those threads and ask for the codes for you. What are they showing you? What do the colors have for you?
It's beautiful. Thank you so much for that activation. And it just shows you too, like whatever you desire, it may not come the way you think, but it does happen. It does happen.
It will come. That's what's so
It will
exciting.
come. Yes. Very much so. So thank you for that. That was beautiful. It was, yeah, very deep, very profound. Thank you. I just want to let everybody know that Marissa has a free gift for us. It is called the True North Compass Guide, a gifted guide for your journey. Enjoy this manual for conscious living through the ascension process. Explore mastery systems to build self-awareness and confidence. Activate your inner compass and navigate the spiritual journey with more ease and flow. And you can find Marissa's free gift in the link underneath this interview. So please take a look at it. It sounds, again, fascinating and so interesting. So thank you for this, Marissa. This was beautiful.
You're
And
welcome. Thank
before we
you.
go, this time has gone by so fast. I can't believe it. But before we go, can you please let everybody know where we could find you online and if you have anything else you'd like to share with us today?
Sure. Thank you so much. So my website is divinednablueprint.com, and there's a lot of information on there. I have an online mystery school there, lots of different services, lots of codes. And then I have a YouTube channel, Marissa Indigo Soul Embodiment Guidance, where I offer a lot of transmissions, guided processes, different shares based on what I'm observing, also the astrology, different ways to connect that way as well. And for anyone interested in diving more deeply into any of the solar wisdom, all of my solar courses that have to do with solar anything are all 50% off all year, because it's time, it's time. It's probably going to be like that for several years, because it's time to start expanding our weather and our awareness of weather to understand that our local weather where we live is impacted by cosmic space weather. So it's part of our galactivation as cosmic citizens, global citizens, to start to become more aware of what's going on. And just like we read the weekly weather, oh, is it going to be rainy today? What's going on? Where we live, you want to start to understand what's happening. The nice thing is with the solar flares, we have 24 to 48 hours when these coronal mass ejections happen before they get to us. The solar winds travel millions of miles an hour, but it takes a while to travel to us. So you can start to plan. It'll assist you when you plan activities and, all the different things. Even when we have the holiday season, all these different things, you'll start to know like, oh, okay, so that you can be prepared. Yeah. Thank you.
Yes, thank you for that. And you know what? I do have one more question for you because I do think it's important. And I thought it was interesting. And then it just went out of my head, of course. But you had mentioned way back that we can create the weather. Can you just talk on that a little bit before we go? Because I think that's fascinating.
Yeah, it's really, really cool. So I first became aware that there might be something when I was a little girl in Hawaii. I love the rain very much. And at night, maybe I'd wake up in the middle of the night and I'd think, oh my, I wish I could hear the rain right now. I love the music of the rain so much. And then it would rain. And I was like, and it would happen every time, like, oh, I would love to see the rain, or oh, I would love a rainbow. And it was just an unattached, pure thought, pure desire of just appreciating. There was no real desire, if you want to say, no, nothing where it was conditional, like, oh, I'll be happy if it happens. It was nothing like that. It was very free. And then Lisa Transcendence Brown would talk about, the weather will actually work with you and you create your own weather. And I would start to notice that when I would go on different trips, different things. For instance, in Sedona, I went during monsoon season. My first time is when I was called to go, and it's technically hot. It can get thunderstorms and rain and stuff really quickly. And it always worked out really perfectly. So it's just starting to trust that wherever you are, the weather will work with you. And let's say you really need some sun. You're like, oh my gosh, I could really use some sun. And maybe you've had cloudy weather. Well, the first year I was in the Pacific Northwest was really rough because we did have a lot less sun exposure. And I was like, oh my God. I said to my guides, I was like, I don't know how I'm going to live through this because I'm a solar being. Like, I'm going to die if I don't have a way to charge. And it was my first winter, my first real winter here, the most north I've ever been in my life. And the guides were like, no, you become the sun. And I was like, what? And so that's what started a lot of the solar consciousness stuff. Is they're like, you're putting your conditionality on the outside again. You become the sun. And I was like, what are you talking about? So then I had to digest that for like 6 months, and that's where the solarian stuff came also 6 months later with the summer solstice. So yeah, just asking and intending. And so after that, now we don't have weeks of clouds. We have, okay, cool, we have some beautiful rain, these like fabulous dramatic clouds, and then it actually breaks in the same day, and then we get sun and a rainbow. So for me, it's like that stereotypical, Seattle weather or whatever people want to say, that doesn't exist for me. Whenever I want sun, it happens, it comes, and I'm like so grateful. And I'll just be sitting there like, oh gosh, I would love to get out in the sun, like, oh, that would be so nice. And then the next thing I know, a couple hours go by and it's just the most perfect little sun for me to solar charge. So yeah, that can start to happen. Also temperature, and comfort and like beautiful breezes, and when you need sun or when you need a break from sun as well. If you're like, oh my God, I'm getting sunburned, if you're out adventuring. Like when I go to Mount Rainier, you get a lot of sun exposure because you're going at a higher altitude. And then all of a sudden, cloud cover will come in, and you're like, oh, thank you so much, because I'm starting to feel I am getting burned, I am getting overexposed. So it's really just a pure request, appreciation. So if something isn't present, you're like, oh boy, I really appreciate this, and watch, it will come. And that's true of abundance too. If we get down low financially, oh gosh, I need to go grocery shopping. I sure love buying food. I love stocking my fridge, for my family. Like, you focus on what you love and appreciate, and your gratitude, and staying in that frequency, your magnetics are very potent. So that's true of all things, the weather, and anything else, any other resources. Your light body will pull it through for you as long as you hold the frequency.
Beautiful. I think that's perfect. Definitely to finish with. Yes. Thank you so much. Thank you for being with us, and thank you for this fascinating discussion and that beautiful activation. It was lovely, Marissa. Thank you.
Thank you, Amanda. Thanks, everybody.
Yes, and I'd like to thank our audience and viewers for being with us today and sharing in this experience and this beautiful discussion. I hope you found it enlightening and inspiring. And yes, take your power back and go out there and create your environment, your weather, and what you want and what you want to experience. It's all there for you. So thank you. Everybody have a beautiful and wonderful day. I will see you all soon. So much love.